you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to look at an interesting subject of entrepreneurship skills for healthcare managers. And our learning objectives for this session are going to be defining entrepreneurship and its relevance in healthcare industry. We are also going to discuss the different types of entrepreneurship. We are also going to look at the challenges and opportunities within healthcare that can be explored by entrepreneurs. Then identify key stakeholders in the healthcare system, that healthcare ecosystem, those stakeholders that we need to know as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, so that we can know who to go to and what they need. Then we are also going to discuss the different regulatory frameworks and current trends shaping the healthcare industry. Then finally, we are going to outline the entrepreneurial process. So without further ado, let's look at what entrepreneurship is. So basically, when we talk about entrepreneurship, we are looking at that process that involves identifying opportunities, taking calculated risks, and innovating to create market in to create value in a market. So in this case, when we talk about entrepreneurship in the sense of healthcare, we are looking at identifying those opportunities, those gaps that need to be filled with an entrepreneurial venture, taking risks, but these risks should be calculated. You should first see whether it is really worth the risk or not. Then we should be innovative as entrepreneurs in this healthcare arena, so that we put in place solutions or entrepreneurial ventures that can bring new products, new services, and solve the problems that have for long existed in the population. So in healthcare, entrepreneurship is really crucial for addressing unmet needs. There are a lot of needs that need to be addressed, and this can only be done if we employ good entrepreneurship skills that we are going to be learning in this session. So we also look at entrepreneurship as a tool that improves accessibility. It also drives positive change, but also entrepreneurs in the healthcare strive to develop innovative solutions, like said earlier, to healthcare challenges, and ultimately this enables them to enhance patient outcomes and healthcare delivery. So in the end, you realize that entrepreneurship in the healthcare sector is a bit different, in a way that there is that goal of meeting the end users' needs, improving the life of the people, and not just focusing only on the profits. Yes, the profits are good for any entrepreneurship venture to be sustained, but in healthcare, you really want to focus on improving the lives of people. So the types of entrepreneurship that exist in the healthcare arena include social entrepreneurship, corporate entrepreneurship, and then we have individual entrepreneurship. So when we talk about social entrepreneurship, this one looks at creating that positive social change alongside financial sustainability. So in this case, the most important thing is not profits, but this interpreting this positive social change, addressing some systemic healthcare access and equity issues. So if you realize that there is a gap, especially in these systemic and equity issues, maybe a certain community does not have water, you can provide this water at a very cheap price, meaning that this price will just basically be to maintain the water pump or the water source, but you're not focusing on the profits that are going to be coming from this. Another example could be the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which focuses on creating vaccines. Here, these entrepreneurs are not looking at the profits as the big deal. They are looking at ensuring that most people can access these vaccines at a cheap and affordable price. Then corporate entrepreneurship in this case is innovating within an established healthcare organization. So in this case, there is already a healthcare organization, say a big hospital, and then it creates a new product. You get what we're saying? That there is a big hospital, a hospital, Hospital X. It is it has physical structures, but now it can innovate a new product whereby some of its services are provided online. So if it creates that telehealth application where um, patients all over the world or all over the country can get consultation services, they can get diagnostic services online, they can be given medication online. Then that innovation within that established organization is what we are calling corporate entrepreneurship. So we are looking at a new product coming out of an already established organization. Then individual entrepreneurship is what is common when you set up a community pharmacy, when you set up a dispensary in your area, when you set up a clinic, when you set up a private hospital, then what you're doing is individual entrepreneurship. But like we said, in the healthcare setting, you need to be driven by passion for this healthcare so that you create a venture that looks at creating better health for the people and not just look focusing on the profits. So characteristics of entrepreneurship, or who is that good entrepreneur that you should aspire to be. So a good entrepreneur or entrepreneurship really embodies vision and passion. Okay, so entrepreneurs in the healthcare possess that deep understanding and passionate desire to address specific healthcare needs. It is their motivation to address these healthcare needs. They 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 are not satisfied with what is out there, especially in the healthcare setting. So they have that vision of creating change, and they are passionate about that change that they will create, and that is what distances them from other people who are not entrepreneurs in the healthcare setting. Then there is innovation and creativity as a very vital characteristic of entrepreneurship in the healthcare. And in this case, we are looking at the fact that entrepreneurs who possess this virtue demonstrate that ability to think outside the box. For you to be a very successful entrepreneur, you don't have to think ordinarily. You have to think out of the box, create solutions that are innovative in nature, that are novel, that are not that are not that are unique and not common. Because if you are going to tackle issues of healthcare, you need to create those novel or new solutions. Okay, because we are in the setting of the healthcare is very dynamic, so you also need to be very innovative for you to be successful as an entrepreneur. Then they are very resourceful and resilient, in that they exhibit strong problem solving skills and determination to overcome challenges. They are not bogged down by any challenge that comes their way, because already we say they have that vision, so they know that these challenges just come as opportunities for them to think and reinvent their ways of doing things, but in the end stay in the game of entrepreneurship in the healthcare. Then ultimately, a good entrepreneur is that one who portrays leadership and communication, the one who can build and lead teams through inspiring them, through effectively communicating their vision to this team that they are leading, so as to create these healthcare solutions. So, generally, the characteristics of entrepreneurs in the healthcare is that they are opportunity seekers, okay? they're always scanning the environment in the healthcare to see where the opportunities are. If you're to see the successful entrepreneurs during COVID-19, there were those people who would see the opportunities of creating solutions during that tough time, of creating solutions of convenience, okay, of creating solutions that limit overcrowding, that enhance sanitation, So that ability to scan the environment and see those opportunities is a very vital characteristic that is embodied by these entrepreneurs in healthcare. Then we also note that they are change makers. For entrepreneurs to be successful, then they have to be driven by that urge to create change, okay? To see better healthcare outcomes in the society. Then they do not wait for problems to happen in their businesses or in their entrepreneurial ventures, but they are proactive in nature, so they mitigate these problems before they happen, okay? They put in place mitigation measures to 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 deal with these problems, so that when they happen, they do not cause a lot of damage to their business or entrepreneurial venture. Then ultimately, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur in the healthcare sector, you have to be having deep healthcare knowledge, okay? You have to be having a vast knowledge of how the healthcare is regulated, of how um, of which laws govern healthcare practice, of the devices that are used in the healthcare setting, So a very successful entrepreneur in the healthcare is one that has deep healthcare knowledge. Then customer centricity, apart from even the healthcare setting, any entrepreneurship venture that stands the test of time is really customer centric. Any entrepreneur who wants to be successful acknowledges that the customer is the boss. Okay, so you have to do everything to satisfy the customer. Okay, you have to put them at the center of everything you do. You have to should be satisfy the needs of this customer, and it is not different in the healthcare setting. Then there is the fact that they are problem solvers and critical thinkers. For you to solve these dynamic healthcare setting problems, then you need to be a very powerful critical thinker and a problem solver, one that can break down a problem into the various parts that are composed of it and see how to put in place a holistic solution so as to create a sustainable venture in this healthcare arena. Then they are very resourceful and resilient, like we had said. They are never into giving up whenever they face challenges, but embrace these challenges and make the best out of them. So the challenges in healthcare that that create those gaps which are identified as opportunities by good entrepreneurs in the healthcare sector include rising costs and access issues, the aging population and increased demand for healthcare, chronic disease burden, where we have issues of cancer, where we have diabetes, where we have hypertension and other heart diseases, then technological advancements and data integration. In the age where we are in the wave of artificial intelligence, there are a lot of challenges that are there which can be explored and exploited by any entrepreneur, so as to create a very good venture. Then we have regulatory and disbursement challenges. These deal with how the healthcare is regulated, but also issues of insurance. When we talk about disbursement, we mean issues of how healthcare is paid for, the insurance bit, or is it paid by the individuals seeking for it, or is it paid by the governments from which these individuals belong? So those are very crucial challenges which create opportunities, and the opportunities that are created from those challenges include developing technologies for efficiency and affordability. Okay, here we are looking at the fact that a good entrepreneur should see a way of developing technologies that cater for efficiency and affordability, a technology that does not require someone to go to the hospital physically. Issues of telehealth, like that we are going to be looking at later uh, in this module, that you do not have to spend transport to go to the hospital when you can get the services that you need from the comfort of your home. Okay, so those technologies that cater for efficiency and affordability are very essential opportunities in the healthcare. Then personalized care models and patient engagement solutions. uh, like we said, one of the characteristics of a good entrepreneur is being customer centric. So there are very many hospitals or healthcare service providers who are not so customer centric. They deliver services with that model of one size fits all. Everyone who comes receives the same kind of care, but the opportunity that exists in that case means that is that if you personalize your care, if you have patient engagement solutions, that when a patient visits your hospital or clinic, they are able to be taken care of with within the perspective of their individual needs. Okay, such that even when they leave the hospital, they are followed up, so that there is that bondage, that there is that bond that is created between the patient and this healthcare provider. So those opportunities can be exploited by good entrepreneurs so as to have better healthcare. Then addressing unmet needs in underserved communities, and then leveraging data and analytics for better healthcare delivery. We know that when we have data, when we collect data in real time from these patients, when we analyze it very well using the latest tools, then we can make better decisions. Then designing sustainable models for accessible care, like we were talking about earlier, we there is an opportunity created to ensure convenience of healthcare seeking. Okay, uh, that if we design some of those models which make this healthcare accessible, convenient for everyone wherever they are, then we are going to have better healthcare system. So, like we said in our objectives for the session, we are also going to discuss the healthcare ecosystem, those different parts or the different stakeholders that make up this healthcare. So we have patients who are central to the healthcare, and as an entrepreneur, you need to know that they are what you are looking at. If you are going to be successful, they are the customers. They should be the center of everything that you try to put in place. So they have different needs and preferences, and they need to be uh, addressed for you to have successful interaction and with them, and a better entrepreneurial outcome. Then we have healthcare providers, including the doctors, nurses, specialists, and these influence how people access the healthcare, but also they influence delivery. If you have a hospital but you do not have enough healthcare workers, then it is not going to be sustainable. Okay, then we also have another set of stakeholders called the payers. and these include the insurance companies, or the ones that we have called insurers. Sometimes the government itself does paying, especially in those public hospitals. Then sometimes the patient themselves is the one who pays out of their pockets. So this influence these reimbursement models, uh, so that the hospital can know how to run basing on the person who is paying for the service. Then we have pharmaceutical companies which develop drugs and shape treatment options. Then we have academia and research institutions that drive innovation and discoveries about disease causing organisms, but also the treatment models that can be put in place is very vital, and it is a role that is well played by academia and research institutions. So you cannot distance the healthcare system from these people. This could include universities like ours here, other institutions of high learning, which come into place to drive this innovation and discovery of of these healthcare issues. Then we have policymakers for the healthcare ecosystem to stand well. It should be having those. It should exist in an environment that is well regulated by policies, by laws, by other regulations that can keep these healthcare providers and the players in check. Okay, so that the care that is delivered is safe for the patient, but also the equipment that is used is also safe for the patient and promotes recovery. Then we have medical technology companies which provide equipment and technology influencing diagnostics and treatment. We have many companies which produce a lot of these medical technologies. For example, a company in the US called Abbott, which produces which produces BP or blood pressure monitoring machines. It also produces glucose or blood sugar monitoring machines. So those companies should also never be neglected when we are looking at the healthcare ecosystem, because without them, then we cannot do a lot of diagnosis of these diseases, whether they are the communicable or non-communicable diseases. Then we also said that we are going to highlight about regulatory frameworks in this healthcare setting or the healthcare arena. So as an entrepreneur, you need to be well conversant of the environment in which you operate, that which regulations govern the product, the service or product that you are putting out there, the business that you want to create, which standard should it follow. So these regulatory frameworks are very essential when we talk about entrepreneurship in the healthcare. For example, the HIPAA, or the Health Insurance and Health Insurance Protection and Accountability Act that was passed in 1996. It is a US based act that really protects the rights of patients against their information being shared by these healthcare workers or in the healthcare setting without their consent. Okay, so such regulations are very essential, and they guide our practice as healthcare entrepreneurs. Then we have FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, also in the US, but really manages the marketing and advertising of these biological products, the approval of drugs, and also sometimes it regulates and approves devices that are used in the healthcare setting. So all these are very essential, and other regulations that affect research, clinical trials, and reimbursement or insurance are also essential in regulating the practice of healthcare entrepreneurship. That it shouldn't be a free field where everyone can bring in their product. Remember, unlike other fields where the repercussions might not be great, in healthcare, if you're going to innovate something or put your product out there and it is dangerous, then it can cost a lot of lives and livelihoods. So that's why we have these regulatory frameworks to come into play to regulate research, clinical trials, or testing of these drugs, to regulate insurance, to regulate uh, the patient data, to regulate medical devices, advertisement of these drugs, and treatment models, so that we have things which are standardized and safe for the population. So the current trends in the healthcare entrepreneurship arena include precision medicine, which means that uh, treatments are personalized in nature based on genetic and health data. Currently, in developed countries, we have this phenomenon of precision medicine, where it has been there for, but it is now being developed at a higher level. Well, now precision medicine can be seen in the sense of going into the hospital that match your blood with a potential donor to know that this blood is not going to be dangerous to you. Okay, so you get blood that you can be recipient of, so that there is no complication that could arise. But precision medicine has now gone even higher to the level of calibrating the treatment, the treatment models or the drugs in a way that fits in your genetic makeup, the environment that you live in, and your general health. Okay, that someone will first be tested to see the way their body is. They will also be asked questions about the environment they live in, so that the treatment that is given to this person is personalized in nature. It meets their needs very well. Then we have telehealth as another current trend, where we engage in virtual consultations and remote care delivery, that patients do not have to travel long distances to these healthcare facilities, but they can get these virtual consultations online. We have artificial intelligence that reduces chances of human error and is applied in diagnostics, drug discovery, and treatment planning. We have wearable technology as another current trend. You must have seen people putting on smartwatches which can monitor their blood pressure and their pulse, and other technologies which are wearable, like bracelets, and do personal health monitoring and data collection. Then we also have value-based care, which emphasizes outcomes and cost effectiveness. That we do not have to put in place any kind of solution in healthcare, but we have to look at the cost effectiveness balance. Is the cost of this solution that is being put in place less than the effect, or the effect is greater than the cost, which would be the desirable case? But if the cost is so high, and the effect or the outcome of this or the impact of this solution is very little or less than the cost, then it is not a desirable solution. All right. So as we conclude, we need to look at the entrepreneurial process, and it includes issues of generating an idea, recognizing the opportunity, creating the venture, and then making sure that you launch it and you scale it up. So in idea generation, we look at issues of identifying problems, needs, and opportunities in the healthcare. We also look at using empathy and user research to understand how stakeholder needs. So you put yourself in the shoes of these people to whom you're going to deliver this healthcare solution. Okay, then the other the other step in idea generation is to employ brainstorming techniques and idea validation methods so that you can come up with a good idea that addresses the needs and opportunities in the healthcare sector. Then the entrepreneurial process also includes opportunity recognition. And in this case, the entrepreneur or a group of entrepreneurs that are interested in providing this solution will evaluate those ideas that have been that have come out of this first step of idea generation. So after brainstorming amongst themselves, amongst that team of entrepreneurs, then now they evaluate ideas based on the market potential. uh, are there people who are willing to take on this solution? Are there people who are willing to purchase our product or pay for our service or not? Then feasibility, is it going to really apply? Is it applicable in this case? Okay. Then we look at also competition. How many other people are doing what we are proposing to do? And how can we go about this competition? Then the other issue in opportunity recognition is assessing the value proposition and impact of the solution. And when we talk about value proposition, we are looking at that statement which communicates the unique benefits and value that will be derived from the service or product that is being offered by these entrepreneurs. Okay. Then we also use tools like SWOT analysis and market research to enable this opportunity to be recognized in full. Okay, so when we use SWOT analysis, like we are going to see later, we are going to look at how strong is our model or our solution, then what are its weaknesses, but then also what are the opportunities that are out there and the threats that could be present and go against our idea or our solution that we are proposing. Then the third step of the entrepreneurial process is now creating the venture. Okay, because everyone can think about an idea, but a good entrepreneur is that one who takes action, you know, and they stop procrastinating, they stop they do not they stop postponing this creation of the venture. So they go in and build a diverse team, a team that consists of people with different expertise and knowledge about different areas of the healthcare system. And then after they have built this team, they develop a business model outlining the value proposition. Like I said, the value proposition is that statement which communicates the unique benefits and value that will be derived from the service or product that is being offered by this entrepreneurial venture. Then after you have developed a business model which outlines the value proposition and revenue streams, or where the revenue streams are those different ways generate in which you're going to generate your revenue when you have put in place this entrepreneurial venture. It could include whether you're going to get it from subscription to your application, if it is maybe a telehealth app, is it going to be from consultation fees? So you need to also outline that in this business model. Then the third component of venture creation is now to create a prototype. So a prototype is not the venture itself, but it is a representation of the bigger venture, or what we are calling the MVP. And in this case, we are not talking about the most valuable player like we always see in NBA, but we are talking about the minimum viable product. And it is all done to test and iterate, or to test and redo this process, to test, get feedback from the customers, correct the mistakes, and then do it again. Then after you have created this prototype, now you can secure funding from through grants or investors, because they see where they are going to put their money. Okay, they can see that prototype, which shows how this business or how this venture that is addressing these healthcare issues is going to run. Then after that, you launch the venture and scale impact. So ultimately, if you have created this minimum viable product, you have tested it and corrected the mistakes, you have secured the funding, you can launch it and scale it up. If it was tested in a small location, now you can scale it up to a bigger geographical setting. Okay, so those are the major steps of the entrepreneurial process, that we first identify the opportunity, we first identify the idea by assessing the problems and needs of in the healthcare. We then study that opportunity in terms of the market potential, of visibility and the competition. Then we go on to now create that venture by building a diverse team, by developing a business model, by testing this MVP and securing funding before launching it and scaling it up. Okay, so identifying problems as a very key strategy in the entrepreneurial process is essential, and we need to talk about it further. So it includes issues like brainstorming, and in brainstorming, it's generally a process that is collaborative in nature. Okay, where a group generates numerous ideas without judgment. No one is being judged here when it comes to brainstorming. Everyone's idea is welcomed and discussed. Okay, so it encourages creativity and divergent thinking. You should not be having the same kind of thinking when you're doing brainstorming. There should be a lot of ideas, and then these ideas are going to be evaluated in terms of how feasible they are, in terms of how original or how new they are, and the impact that they could create if put into real practice. So the benefits of this brainstorming exercise to identify problems and needs in healthcare is that it generates a wide range of ideas, which can then be evaluated to come up with the best idea which will solve a particular problem in healthcare. Then it fosters team collaboration and innovation. All right. So the second way of identifying problems and needs is what we call design thinking. And in design thinking, we involve empathy, putting ourselves in the perspective of the end users of our product or service. Okay, so we put ourselves in we wear their shoes and try to see what is really affecting them. Okay, and then it also includes problem definition, ideation, prototyping, and testing. Okay, some of these things we had looked at earlier, but we are going to look at them again. So, in design thinking, the process includes empathizing with the end users or the target population of your venture or your entrepreneurial uh, venture. So in this case, you understand the user's needs and motivations. Then, in trying to define the problem, you clearly articulate the problem to be solved. Identify those different parts of this problem. Okay, if it is, for example, malaria in a certain community, you want to understand what is really this malaria that you're talking about. Okay, is it because of people, is it affecting the children or the entire population age groups? Okay, in which area is it more prevalent? Okay, uh, what are the current solutions in place? So you clearly articulate this problem to be solved, and then the other step is to ideate. Okay, and in this case, from the word ideate, we are generating potential ideas or potential solutions to this identified problem. Then the other step of design thinking includes prototyping, and in this case, like we said earlier, you develop a tangible representation of the idea. You do not just uh, stop at talking about it, but you can now develop it. Okay, in most cases, if you have developers or computer developers, they can try, these days you can try to represent this idea on the computer and see how it is going to work. Okay, then you test to gather feedback, and then you do again or iterate. So design thinking is iterative and feedback driven. We do it so as to improve the idea by by testing and redoing this testing, so that we can get maximum feedback and create a solution that is market fit, that fits in the needs of the people that we are targeting. Okay, then another way of identifying problems is SWOT analysis, and in this case, we are looking at a strategic tool that assesses the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So, SWOT is the acronym of strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And when we talk about strength, we are looking at the internal advantages of a solution. Okay, so if it is, for example, a technological based solution in healthcare, when we look at the strength, we are looking at aspects of how easy is it to be used by any layman. Okay, is it a sophisticated application that very few are going to use? Okay, then the weaknesses could be, is it expensive to use or not? Then or is it or can it be, is it limited to a few users and not and not used by everyone? Then the opportunities are now the external factors conducive for success. If you are doing something or implementing a solution that is supported by the government, or it has enormous market potential, then that is a very good opportunity for your venture, and such ventures normally persist, and they are always bound to last for a long time. Then we have threats, which are external factors that may hinder success, and these could include competition, politics. They could include the government being against your solution. So These are things that you need to look at as you identify your problem and needs in the healthcare setting so that your idea does not meet these challenges. So it helps us to identify advantages and disadvantages, but also external influences on our desired solutions. Then another way of identifying problems and needs is what we call the lean startup. So which is this is a methodology that focuses on creating a minimum viable product, what we call the MVP, for testing and validation. So in this case, you start by building that MVP quickly and cost effectively using few resources that are within your disposal. Then you measure or gather data and feedback from the real customers. So after you have built this MVP, you test it. Okay, you test it. For example, if I had a mobile application that links pharmacies and patients, so that patients do not have to travel to these pharmacies to get drugs. If I wanted to use this lean startup model, I would develop this application, which maybe is mobile based, and I would test it in a small geographical setting, and gather data and feedback from those real customers, the customers that need these drugs, and do not want to travel long distances to get these drugs from big pharmacies. So I test it in that small setting and gather feedback about how it works. Okay, the complaints by the customers, the challenges that they are faced with, the good things that need to be maintained, so that at the end of the day I come up with I can learn from that data that I will have collected and feedback, so as to make an informed decision, so that when I scale it up, when I implement it in a larger geographical setting, it can work without major challenges. So iterating or doing this testing again and again makes improvement based on this feedback. So the goal of using a lean startup is to achieve a product market fit efficiently. That instead of you spending a lot of money in a startup that occupies a large geographical setting without even knowing whether it is going to work or not. It is better you have that lean startup, which will be in a smaller setting, and will require not a lot of resources. And then if you see it working, then you can scale it up to have a major or a bigger uh, venture. Okay, then the other way or the last way of identifying these problems is through a hackathon. So a hackathon is basically a time limited event where teams collaborate to create prototypes or solutions. So if the in these hackathons, it is a common practice that a team of judges will come up with a problem that has been identified maybe through research about healthcare uh, uh, setting. It will be a healthcare setting problem, and then they will call for people, programmers, designers, and experts. And when they are gathered in one place, they will they will form teams, and these people who can will be introduced to this topic and told to work intensively to develop solutions for that healthcare problem that has been identified. Okay, but in this case it is always time limited. So you have hackathons lasting for 1 day or 1 week or 2 days, so that you come up with these solutions very fast. Okay, but also work in teams. So the teams then present the solutions that have been uh, that have been created in form of a prototype to these judges or potential users for feedback and evaluation. And of course, the one which has a better solution or the best solution is sometimes funded or given a green light to access funding from a potential funder or donor. So this kind of identification of problems promotes innovation, collaboration between these individuals in various teams, and rapid solution development. You do not have to wait for a long time to address these problems that exist in the healthcare setting. But if you use the hackathon, you can come up with these solutions within even a day. Okay, so now that we have understood how to create these solutions, how to go about with creating uh, entrepreneurial solutions. How then do we know that they are working or not? Okay, so it brings us to the last segment of this session of talking about evaluating the solutions to healthcare challenges. How can we tell that the solution is working or not? How can we tell that the solution has created an impact or not? So we can use various methods, one of them being conducting a randomized control trial. So in this case, if I wanted to, as an entrepreneur, if I wanted to introduce a drug X to treat malaria, and I'm saying that this drug X is better than the old drugs that have been there that treat malaria, we shall conduct what we are calling a randomized control trial. And what we are going to do is that we are going to have drug X and then the old drug being administered to this target population. So we have two groups, one that receives the drug X and then another group which receives the other old drug that we are calling a placebo, or does not receive any drug at all, or receives a drug that does not even treat malaria. Okay, so when we track these people, we want to see if really drug X uh, produces better results than the old drugs, or is a better alternative. Okay, so if we see from these people that we administer this drug to having better outcomes, for example, if they recover in a few days and have and experience fewer side effects than the people who are given the other drug, then we know that this solution that we created using drug X is a better solution or impactful solution. We can also use other methods like mixed methods research, where we look at collecting quantitative and qualitative data. So quantitative data is basically about numerals, numbers, but qualitative data focuses on unearthing the attitudes, the practices, the opinions of these end users about the solution that we have put out there. Then we can also utilize another method of evaluating called cost effectiveness analysis or cost benefit analysis. We want to know the balance between the cost and the effect, or the cost and the benefit of our solution. So, for example, in the earlier example of drug X, if my drug X is costing 10,000 South Sudanese pounds, but it creates a solution whereby this person is going to be healed faster, you know, they are not going to spend more days in the hospital, meaning that they could go back to work and make more money. So you can see that the effect, in the end, it could be quantified, and you find that the effect or the impact of this drug is actually like 50,000 South Sudan pounds. So if you compare the 50,000 South Sudan pounds with the 10,000 South Sudan pounds, which was the cost, then you can see that this solution is cost effective, or the effect or the benefit is or outweighs the cost, and that will be a desirable solution. Then we can also use theory of change framework to map out the causal pathways and assumptions underlying the new solution and test them empirically. So when we talk about theory of change, we are looking at that that linkage between your solution and the desired impact. Okay, so if I'm saying that I'm going to provide um, mosquito nets in my venture, I'm going to be providing mosquito nets to your community members, so as to reduce the deaths that are caused by malaria. My supplying of these mosquito nets will not ultimately reduce or suddenly reduce these deaths that are brought about by malaria, but there will be that uh, change pattern, or that results chain. Okay, from supplying or distributing these mosquito nets, we have to look at the issue of the community members using the nets. If they use the nets, how many cases of malaria do we have? Then from the cases, we finally look at the deaths. Okay, so the linkage between distributing malaria and then distributing malaria, or the mosquito nets to reduce to reduce the deaths that are caused by malaria should be investigated. We should see whether the distributed nets translate into people sleeping in them. People sleeping in them translates to the reduced cases of malaria. The reduced cases of malaria translating into the reduced deaths caused by malaria. So if we implement that theory of change framework, then we are able to see if our solution has been impactful or not. Then lastly, we can look at employing participatory evaluation methods, where we involve end users in evaluating the solution. From the designing, the implementation, and the feedback of this evaluation, you need to include the beneficiaries, so that we can get rich data. We can get that first-hand information about our solution. Okay, without without just basing our our evaluation on data that is maybe from media, or from these quantitative analytic models. We need to involve these end users and beneficiaries in designing these evaluation models, so that we can have richer uh, results of this evaluation of the solutions that we have created. So in conclusion, we realize that the healthcare is really a very good setting that presents far-reaching opportunities for entrepreneurship. So having passion and knowledge of those regulatory frameworks, but also knowledge of the healthcare setting and dynamics, are the essential soft skills of entrepreneurship, can enable one to start, to manage, and sustain an entrepreneurial venture that creates positive change in the health of the people and their communities. So thank you so much for listening, and I will now take a few questions before we can call it an evening. Thank you. All right, are we there? Mr. Samuel, are you hearing me? No,
Yeah, all is welcome at this time.
okay. Any question from you guys? Garang, are you having any question?
Can I move away from the mic? I have a colleague talking. Are you getting me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was having a question with regard to the lean startup. The lean startup, you stated it and gave the talk of the MVP that I did not understand when you say you build up the MVP and how you ended the explanation was not elaborated. Maybe you can go back to that slide and get some light. So, yeah.
So are you seeing that slide on the screen?
Yes,
This is the one that you're talking about.
yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that question. So from the word lean, we are looking at lean means something that is small. In this case, the startup or the business or the entrepreneurial venture that you want to put in place. If I used an example of I used an example of an application that links pharmacies or drug shops to the patients, that patients do not have to come to the hospital to get medicine, but they can order the medicine through applications, and I take to them uh, uh, to their homes and in the convenience of their compound. So in this case, if I'm going to use this lean startup model, I'm going to build an MVP, and an MVP in this case is the minimum viable product. I want to put up this application or this mobile app, but implement it in a very small area. Okay, so it could be, if I wanted to use this lean startup in the whole of South Sudan, I would implement this lean startup. I would implement this lean startup, or this. I would develop this minimum viable product to to operate in a small area of, for example, Juba. Okay, so I'll develop this MVP, the minimum viable product, to supply these drugs to only people in Juba who want these drugs from pharmacies, but are not willing to travel those distances to these pharmacies, or they just want to enjoy that convenience. So I will first implement it in that small geographical location of Juba. But remember, I have a vision of scaling it up to the entire country. So I first develop this MVP, the minimum viable product, using my few or little resources that I'm having. And that is where we are talking about cost effectiveness. And then after I've built this minimum viable product, I gather data. I gather information from these people who are getting these drugs from pharmacies using my application, my mobile application, uh, on how to improve it, on the changes that I have to make, whether I'm delivering I'm delivering late, sometimes I'm making mistakes in the drugs that they need. So when I gather that information, I use that information and feedback from these real customers of my mobile application. I analyze it to see those trends, and then I can now make a better application which I will scale up, okay, which I will put in a larger geographical setting of the entire country. So it is a very good model, because you are able to achieve that product market fit. You're able to achieve what the market really needs. okay, because you have used something small to get the ideas from these customers before you can scale it up, and you have used their feedback to make improvements to your final product, which you are going to put in the entire country. Don't know if you have tried to get what I'm explaining. Garang.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're trying to get that. I understand. The MVP is a mobile app. It's like an app that you install to to operate with. It's like what you have just explained. But
Yeah,
still,
well,
how does
excuse
it
me.
look? How does it look like? Is what
So
I
what I'm saying is that an MVP does not have to necessarily be an application, even if it is, for example, if you wanted to start a clinic that that treats people all over the country. Okay, if you wanted to build a hospital for that treats people all over the country, you do not have that money to put up that big hospital. But even if you had, you're not sure if this hospital is going to generate for you the income that you need or the revenue that you need. So instead of you having to build that hospital at first instance, you're going to put up a small clinic, okay, which we are calling the minimum viable product. That product which is applicable or which is feasible using the minimum or the least resources possible. Okay, so you put up that small clinic, then it's from that clinic that you're going to see how people are responding. Are people coming to my clinic or not? Which services do they need? So that when you gather that information and analyze it, you can put in place a bigger hospital that has those services which the customers, the real customers, really need. The customers now from all over the country that can be handled by the bigger hospital. So the MVP does not have to be an application. I was just using it as an example, but it has to be that minimum viable product or that small startup, the lean startup, from which you get feedback from the real customers or the customers that can be reached by that small startup, and then you use that feedback or the information that you have gathered to make a bigger business or a bigger entrepreneurial venture in the healthcare setting. Have you got what I'm trying to put
understood.
across?
I've understood. Thank you. Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you. Any other question? We have Lometa. Lometa, do we have any question? Or Matut? And then Dennis. Dennis, are you there?
Yes, I'm in, yeah.
Any question for me?
No, though I joined lately, my network had been disturbing,
Okay,
but
for
I
those
will
who
follow
joined
from the
late,
video after here.
we are going to upload the session on your platforms so that you can go through it again, and maybe if any questions arise, then you can contact me in the email that is going to be provided.
It's okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Garang, you seem to have put up your hand.
No, I was trying to clap. I've not put up my hands. I clap for the good luck. Thank you.
Oh, you are welcome. You're welcome. Mr.
So
Samuel.
another question that I may post is that when is the other when are we expecting another lecture? Like the timing and the day.
All right, thank you. Apologies, I hadn't mentioned that, but we are expecting another session tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. South Sudan.